Yeah, good morning, everyone. So Harshini, yes, we can go ahead and start. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on mastering trade regulations with customs compliance. And today, I am Harshini from the customs team at tradePhlo. And today we have with us Bilal Hassan, who is the product head for tradePhlo, and Neil Morrow, who's our account director. And today we'll be understanding the current scenario for UK and EU customs post Brexit and the complexities of customs compliance. And we'll also be gaining insights on how to navigate the intricate landscape of trade regulations. And as we go into the webinar, we will also be looking into the issues with existing processes, such as reliance on brokers, paper-based forms, and how digitization and automation can help us. And in the end, we do have a little surprise regarding the ChatGPT functionality. So we would like you to stay till the end for the same. And yeah, and in the end, we'll also have an opportunity for you to ask your questions, which Bilal will be able to answer. And as we go ahead, I would also like to give a brief about our company. So, Flow Systems was started with a commitment to streamline every aspect of global trade. And it includes our three flagship products. First one being tradePhlo, which we all know about. And tradePhlo, it works on digitizing customs compliance. And we are CDS compliant. We are built on CDS, and we are have worked with HMRC. So, and Flow Systems team brings over around 100 years of experience, as you can see, and we have worked in the area of digitizing international trading operations as well as trade finance.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harshini, for the introduction. My name is Bilal. Nice to have you all on the webinar. Please feel free to ask any questions along the way, and we'll do our best to answer in our QA session. If we run out of time, we will take the questions offline. So yes, the discussion today is surrounding some of the challenges in customs, but with challenges come opportunities. And between UK and Europe, there are 500 million consumers within 24-hour reach. So what are the limitations? Why are some of the traders in the UK or Europe not able to economize on that opportunity? And since our discussion is surrounding customs, I'll go into in that sort of context. So of course we cannot proceed without mentioning the B word. Since Brexit, a lot has changed when it comes to trade between UK and Europe. We are no longer part of the single market. But there is opportunity. We still have a TCA with Europe, which allows us to import goods at 0% duty. But it's knowing how to apply the preference on clearances that allow you to make that claim on declarations. So a lot of the challenges are faced by traders is because of lack of that understanding and lack of knowledge as to how to apply the relief that is available to them. So extending on that, there are some key aspects of customs that pose challenges to traders. We already covered the origin, so understanding that certain reliefs are available for products that originate in Europe, and being able to define correct value of the items, and that feeds into classification, how you classify goods correctly, and everything kind of stems from there. If you've not classified your items correctly and have not provided the correct commodity code for your items, then everything beyond that will be challenging in terms of the defining the correct value, paying the correct duty, paying the correct taxes, and so forth. And then procedures. There are special procedures that traders can benefit from. These include customs warehousing, temporary import-exports procedures, temporary admissions that we help traders with on a daily basis for certain items. So knowing procedures that are applicable to your particular operation is also something that can allow you to combat some of the challenges that have come about since Brexit. And then regulations is a big one. How do you keep on top of ever-changing regulations on a daily basis? There are new initiatives, and there are new laws and regulations surrounding import-export in and out of UK, Europe. How do you keep up with that? Manually, it's a task that you cannot handle. Do you rely on IT systems to make sure that they are updated in a timely manner, and users are made aware of those changes and new regulations on a regular basis, and in advance of actually the changes? So the IT systems that they're using in-house, whether you're relying on an agent, is the agent using a system that is up to date? Because in the end, it's the trader that is liable for any financial implications surrounding any errors that have been made, or regulations have not been complied to. So these are some of the key issues that one must consider when it comes to trade between UK and Europe, and particularly when it comes to customs. Okay. And what are the consequences of not being able to keep up with the changing regulations, the correct classification of goods? The main one is cost. The cost that come about from delays, from incorrect entries, from miscommunication between traders and brokers that they may rely on. And that gap is really not being fulfilled in some cases by systems. Systems are also, some of them are legacy systems that have relied on old technology and are just not, I just do not have that architecture to actually maintain standards and keep to the changing regulations and the requirements. So that cost is a huge burden, and I personally have conversations with traders on regular basis where they've stopped actually trading between. They've stopped trading to Europe, exporting to Europe, because it's just not worth their while, and they've looked to other opportunities. And we've successfully helped many particularly small traders and medium size to reinitiate that sort of movement and that trade between UK and Europe by simply advising on some of the procedures that are available to them that allows them to save on cost, allows them to streamline their operation. And second one, of course, is customer satisfaction, and that's important for any business. If there are costs, that has to be, that burden has to be relayed to your customers, and no customer is happy to afford extra cost where they could have easily avoided it. So customer satisfaction is super important. And then disruptions in the supply chain. If goods are delayed because someone has not followed the correct procedure, or the commodity code has been incorrect and there hasn't been an inspection on the border, goods are held, that creates a domino effect that is very difficult to then afford, particularly for SMEs. So disruptions is a major issue also. So how do we go about, what is the solution to some of these challenges? For us as tradePhlo, we split that into two sort of models. One is where we share knowledge. We facilitate not just internally between our teams, where we promote training and we promote education, and we have regular sort of case meetings where we bring up cases where there were situations and how they were held, how they were, what solutions came about from some of the problems. And we extend that to our users, our customers also, where we share the knowledge that we build within the team. We share that. I mean, a lot of our existing customers, they are comfortable with just picking up the phone and asking questions or doing screen shares, and we simply take them through the knowledge repository that we built on the system itself, on tradePhlo, on the application, but also the experience that we've developed between the team. And that has helped a lot. I mean, our customers, our clients have gained a lot of confidence. A lot of them actually had zero experience in actually handling clearances, handling declarations, but very quickly they were equipped with enough knowledge and expertise to manage operations in-house. So knowledge facilitation for tradePhlo is super important, and I think if companies start adopting that with similar importance to tradePhlo, I think that's a great way of facing some of the challenges that I discussed earlier. So one key thing is knowledge facilitation. Second, of course, is digitalization and automation, which is a key topic for this webinar. For us as tradePhlo, digital and automation is at the heart. We are taking initiatives from system perspective in terms of building knowledge repositories on the system itself, exploring innovative solutions, not just innovative solutions, but application of innovative solutions. And you will see that in future in slides. As to how we apply some of those solutions. And those initiatives allow you to then streamline your customs processes, where you could be spending hours and hours on producing a declaration and then reproducing that declaration, familiarizing with the import controls, import regulations on the HMRC portal. In tradePhlo, you have that capability where you provide a commodity code and you're able to actually then see all the import controls and import regulations that are imposed on a particular commodity, what documentations are required in seconds. So streamlining the custom process is a second solution. And then classification is, which is, I think, the root of all evil when it comes to customs. I think the core thing is your product, and if you've not classified your product correctly, everything else that then associated to that transaction in terms of customs it's gonna have problems with it. The duties will be wrong, the taxes will be wrong, you're not compliant with the regulation. So classifying your goods correctly is super important. And if you were to do that manually, you'll be going through chapters and chapters of the tariff, and still, you'll come to a final part where you have three options, and you have to decide on the three options based on your specification of product, and it's how well you know your product. Let's say if it was you as a trader, you're best equipped with the knowledge about your commodities, but if it was your broker, he may not or she may not know that they may not have that knowledge to make that decision, the correct decision. So they may nominate a commodity code that has that may not have different duties or taxes, but documentation that are required, that may be very different to what's actually required for your particular commodity, and they may process the declaration under an incorrect commodity code. And then there will be delay in clearance. And then if it's not cleared and your goods are at the port, you can imagine the problems that will cause in the whole sort of operation. So classifying your goods correctly is another key aspect where digitalizing that process and automating that sort of decision making can help in achieving and increasing your competencies around customs. Okay. So what are we doing at tradePhlo in solving some of these complex issues, and reducing the opportunity for errors when it comes to classification, when it comes to using nominating correct procedure code? We are relying on, our application is leveraging on solutions such as the ChatGPT OpenAI database. So we've got a solution on tradePhlo where you can interact with the application, and interact in a sort of open way, where you can ask a question. I am importing a product. Let's say you're importing honey from France. You can literally ask that question on tradePhlo chatbot, and it will take that question and contextualize it. If it's a question about HMRC submission, it will contextualize that question. And in a typical sort of scenario, if you're interacting with ChatGPT, it will just refer to the OpenAI database and give you a sort of generic answer, which may not actually be up to date. What we are doing is that we are routing this question, this query, to our internal database, our internal tradePhlo archive, which we've built and we've trained with data which is recent, which is latest, and which has come about from our submissions, our declarations that we've completed. So it's a repository of latest data that we first refer to. So the query is routed to our tradePhlo repository, and if there is gap in that repository, we then rely on OpenAI database and HMRC portal to attain that information and then display it for the user. So we've got best of both worlds. Which is something that is unique to tradePhlo. I believe there's no other system that is going to that extent, building a knowledge repository that users can benefit from in single interface on a single domain, and not have to log in and out of other portals to check commodity code classification of commodity codes, or knowing what import controls that are imposed on a particular commodity. They can do that within a single application, and it doesn't just stop at classification. It's regulations, duty and VAT calculation, defining origin correctly, and of course I mentioned documentation, providing the correct documentation for commodities. So there's, let's say you've asked a question, and how do you then apply it to your declarations? We've got another feature in tradePhlo where you can actually take your commercial information. That may be your commercial invoice, it may be bill of lading, packing list, whatever the commercial document may be. You can feed it into tradePhlo, and we then take that document, and using AI and ChatGPT, we extract information as much as possible from that document. We create a structured table of that data, and you can review that data. And of course, if you were to just, in other systems, you can interpret, documentation, extract data from it, and then feed it. There's providers that are making that claim that they've got at least 90% automation. What that means is that you can feed a document into your application and then process a declaration entry on that particular extraction. But what we've experienced in our in tradePhlo is that process goes to maybe 50 to 60% in automating that process. The remaining 40 to 50% is a gap that the trader has him or herself has to fill. But we've got a solution where you can rely on a document upload, extract that data, and then whatever gap remains in that data. Let's say on the document there wasn't a procedure code, there wasn't even a commodity code. We take that information that we do have and then fill those gaps using ChatGPT and AI, and then give you a full set of information that you may require to submit the declaration successfully. So that gap is only being fulfilled by tradePhlo. There's no other, we believe there's no other system that's going to that extent. So that's just an overview of some of the initiatives that we are taking as a company in facilitating solutions that allow you to combat some of the challenges that I discussed. Um, Feel free to post any questions that you have now. I'm open to answer any questions that you may have based on what you've learned from the demonstration, or I mean, any other related questions that you may have about your operations. Okay, so there's a question on our service model, how we operate. So Phlo systems, tradePhlo particularly, we have three service models. We have the software as a solution which traders can benefit from independently. So they can take a subscription plan and start using tradePhlo within minutes. And then the second model is where we have a broker model, where you provide us the information, we take care of the submission and any surrounding applications that we may have to make, any notifications, for example, IPAFs, GMRs. We are able to submit those on the customer behalf and process the entries on their behalf and provide the documentation in return. And that's not a typical service. We provide on-platform access to these submissions that we make. So even if a customer is relying on us as a broker, we provide access to their account on tradePhlo, where they're able to access the declaration, the GMRs, and other documentations that they may need in future or for record purposes. So that's slightly different from a traditional sort of brokerage model where that invisibility is not available. And the third is a bit of a hybrid, where let's say if we have a customer that's looking to take things in-house, take control of their customs clearances, but is not confident enough to actually do it on their own to begin with. We do a bit of hand-holding. We train them on live submissions. And once they're confident, they can then take control of their declarations in-house. And, we're still available. I mean, we still offer that flexibility that existing customers, new customers can change between service models. So if they've got a subscription that is on a brokerage plan, they can switch from that to self-service, or if they want to explore the hybrid option, they're free to also do that. So yeah, any other questions?
Inventory management on tradePhlo. Can you share a bit more on that?
Yeah. So with the inventory management, we've developed a system that integrates the two aspects of trade. That is being able to manage your inventory that is going into a bonded warehouse, and then managing customs clearances for those movements. So if you've got an operation where you declare your entries into bond, and you want that sort of integration where you can keep a record of those entries and of those inventories in one system. We have that capability on tradePhlo. And you're able to see all transactions that have been conducted on particular goods, on products. In our inventory management system, also there's some smart features that you can rely on to make your process a bit easier. You do not have to repeatedly enter data for declarations. Once you've created a product library, you simply action declaration on that data that's been previously stored. So you do not have to re-enter that information whenever you're doing declaration, or whenever you're declaring the items into bond, out of bond, for temporary admissions and so forth. So that is useful because it allows you to keep, track on the inventory. You're allowed to create reports that you may need to submit to HMRC. So it just makes that sort of communication much easier. Yeah, so inventory management is available as an add-on to the customs piece.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, if there's more questions, we can take them offline, and we'll do our best to answer them.
I think Bilal,
Yeah.
there is one question from Katie, if you can look.
Okay, yeah.
So the question is, can you help with the export declaration or just the import?
Yep, yeah. So as you may or may not be aware, HMRC is pulling the plug on Chief for exports in March, and we're fully equipped. We're already assisting users with export entries on tradePhlo to CDS, and we've been actually live with it for quite some time. So tradePhlo is fully equipped and ready for export entries into CDS immediately. And as soon as the inventory management module is also available from HMRC, once they've gone live with it, we'll be able to declare inventory management, inventory linked submissions also. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Great.
Thank you so much, Bilal, for sharing this.
Like I say, yeah, please feel free to ask more questions, and I'll just hand it over to Harshini and Neil.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Bilal.
much, Bilal.
Yeah, that was excellent. Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd like to thank all of you for coming today. And if any of you on the call want sort of a deeper dive, a better look into what we do and how we do it, then more than happy to pick it up with you on a one-to-one basis. We plan on doing events like this on a fairly regular basis. So again, let us know if you want anything added, or if you think there'd be more value that we could give you on a session such as this, given you're taking some time out of your day. But certainly we'll be looking to follow up with you. Come through, say please with any further questions while you're on the call. But equally, if you'd like to have a look at the system in play, we can do that for you. But yeah, be very keen to work with all of you going forward if we can help.
Thank you everyone for joining. And as Neil has mentioned that this is just the first of many webinars. So do stay tuned for more such webinars in the coming months. And if you have any suggestions on the topics that you would like us to cover, feel free to drop us a suggestion and we'll be happy to take it up.